Today on the list, why more people than ever are flying private.
If you fly private, you can fly direct.
Straight line.
And
every ingredient that you find here is in your classic lasagna.
Deconstructing an Italian classic into a soup.
Heavenly. Heavenly, this needs to be on the menu.
Plus, one of the most downloaded songs of all time turns 20. But up first, why you should put your estate plan in place early. It's your life, it's your list, and it starts right now.
Hey guys, I'm Christina Guerrero.
And I'm Jimmy Rhodes. And the idea of working on an estate plan can feel, well, intimidating at best.
Yeah, but if you want to make sure that your loved ones get the things you want them to have after you're gone, well, eventually you're going to have to get it done.
So Hattie D. Jamal's looking into what you need to know about estate planning and how to make the process less painful. And that's our featured story on the top of the list.
Some things can be scary to talk about, like estate planning, but it doesn't have to be.
Estate planning is getting organized, and that means everything from your will, your trust, your financial and medical powers of attorney. Those things are for you if you're incapacitated and for the people you leave behind when you pass.
We spoke with Allison Kierman, Managing Director at Kierman Law, to help us break down estate planning and give us some advice on how to go about it.
It doesn't have to be overly complicated, right? I think that's the confusion. People think I don't have enough money for estate planning. It's not about the money. Sometimes it's about what you have, and it's about who you've left behind, right? What do they need to carry out your wishes, and how are you making it easier for them?
Depending on your personal situation, kids, grandkids, age, assets, your estate plan might get more complicated. But Allison says everyone should start with the first step, which is to make a living will.
A living will is a document that says you do not want ongoing life support, meaning you don't want to be kept alive just on machines.
This is different from your will and testament, which dictates who gets what. The purpose of a living will is to alleviate your family or friends from having to make tough decisions if anything happens to you. Next, a power of attorney.
There are multiple types of powers of attorney, but in general, that's appointing an agent to handle your medical or financial wishes if you are living but incapacitated.
This can be short-term, like if you're in a car accident, or long-term if you have dementia or Alzheimer's.
This is how your loved ones talk to the doctor and go to the bank, in particular to go to the bank to pay for the care recommended by your doctor if you are incapacitated.
This is a crucial step for everyone's estate plan because there isn't any going back. But make sure you're giving your power to someone you trust.
People who call me and they're like, my mom is ill, I need power of attorney, I need it to go to the bank to access her records. It's too late then. If mom can't sign something, then we can't get power of attorney. The hardest part is calling someone, making the appointment, and showing up for the first meeting. After that, I or another attorney will take care of you.
And lastly, organizing digital information.
Everything these days is digital, right? I've got 24,000 photos on my camera. Those are really important to me. I would want for my kids to have them. But if something happened to me, they or my husband have to know how to get in my phone. They need to know my Apple ID password.
So organize all your passwords.
How do people access your phone, your email files, your different storage devices, and your apps? The second is what you can do is cull that information. The 24,000 photos on my phone are not that interesting. So it's deleting the things that are duplicative, that aren't important, or that you don't particularly want someone to have.
We're getting your affairs in order with estate planning at the top of the list.
Friends, there is a revolution coming, and it is bringing big changes to the world of soup. TikTokers are going viral with deconstructed lasagna soup. So we are looking at a few variations you might want to put on your home menu.
Deconstructed lasagna soup. It seems to be all the rage on TikTok lately.
It's always nice, comfort, it's warm, it's something that everybody craving.
Chef Rocco Pisano of Sfizio Italian Kitchen in Phoenix, Arizona loves the concept of trading the sheet pan in for a pot. Chef Rocco has 3 recipes to make your own deconstructed lasagna soups to cozy up with.
Every ingredient that you find here is in your classic lasagna. So basically I break it apart and I try to put together in a different way.
First, start with the base of your soup: celery, onion, carrots, and garlic. In Italian, it's called sofrito.
And then once this is cooked, you add tomato sauce, and that's your base. And then you can build off of that.
Once you have your base ready, add about 2 quarts of water or broth.
You want to add liquid as you go. You don't want to boil. You want to simmer. That makes a big difference on taste.
Then for the classic cheesy lasagna soup, he says add a little ground meat of your choice, a whole lot of fontina cheese, and at the end, the torn pieces of cooked lasagna noodles.
A little pasta, a little meat, a little sausage, a little cheese, and that's your lasagna, basically. That's all you do in a different way.
You might have the whole town coming to your house if you start making bats of this.
Yeah, we will be. It looks like everybody likes it.
Next up, we are going vegetarian, which is the same ingredients as the classic, but instead of the meat, he used mushrooms and lentils.
Lentil is one of my favorite food. It's also a substitute for meat. It has iron and everything else. And then I found some porcini mushroom, dried porcini mushroom from Italy. I just cooked the lentil a little bit first and the mushroom together. At the end, we'll do the same process.
And lastly, those lasagna noodles go in.
It is just so hearty. The lentils really kind of just take it to that level where it's definitely the lasagna, but it makes it hearty for a soup as well.
Right.
Finally, creamy white lasagna soup with 3 cheeses.
I have fontina cheese, I have mozzarella cheese, and I have provolone cheese and bechamel.
For this one, he suggests breaking the raw lasagna strips apart and just throwing them right in, uncooked.
Because it gets more flavor than anything else.
Heavenly. Heavenly. This needs to be on the menu.
Chef recommends all 3 soups simmer on low for at least 45 minutes.
So the aromas go through your house, the neighbors start coming over, and then we dig it.
And then you dig it in.
You can find the full recipes on our Facebook page at The List Show TV. And that's What Soup for dinner tonight.
Between long lines, canceled flights, and the fact that you'll probably get crammed into a middle seat next to a guy with a persistent, productive cough, commercial flying can be rough. Maybe that's why an alternative form of transportation has been surging in popularity. We're looking at why the private jet industry has been flying high.
An historic blizzard created a big hot mess at airports this holiday season, but if you flew private, you may have had an easier time navigating it all.
We're here in front of one of our Honda jets. We have 11 in fleet.
This is not a motorcycle.
This is not a motorcycle.
No,
it's got 3 wheels.
Honda's come a long way.
It certainly has.
This is James Cuff with the aviation company Volato. We caught up with him at the Jet Set hangar at Scottsdale Airport. First, he explains why the private jet industry has taken off in recent years.
Since 2019, through the pandemic, the industry's grown by 20%.
COVID kicked it into high gear.
It's virus avoidance, as well as the fact that people couldn't fly. A lot of people also that had tried it for the first time realize they can't live without it.
So it's a growth industry.
It's booming.
So what are the benefits of private jets?
The fact that you don't need to worry about getting to the airport, baggage claim, dealing with security and all those kinds of things. But beyond that, you realize how much more efficient it is from a time standpoint.
He says flying private also saves time because you have access to more airports.
Like if you're flying in Florida and you're going from St. Augustine to Tampa, you'll need to, say, connect through Jacksonville. Whereas if you fly private, you can fly direct.
Straight line.
Absolutely.
And then there are the perks.
We can arrange food service for you or do special requests. Say if there's an anniversary or a special occasion, we can get something on the aircraft for you to surprise your loved ones.
And now, as the private jet industry grows and evolves, there are more ways than ever to fly private.
Can a schmuck like me book something like
You
this?
certainly can, absolutely. So you can call our charter people and they'll slot you in.
Some private aviation companies offer fractional ownership.
That's where you own a percentage of the aircraft.
That's really cool.
Absolutely, and then you get it with 48 hours on demand.
Many companies also offer jet card memberships.
So can you ballpark it for me?
It varies across programs, but with Volato, for example, our jet card, our stretch jet card, is about $5,500 an hour to fly this aircraft.
The way the card works is you buy a block of hours and use them as you go. And if your flight time's flexible, they'll even give you a bonus.
You might want to fly at 11 in the morning, but if we move them by a couple of hours, we reward them with time credit back on their card.
Finally, a growing number of companies are allowing travelers to book individual seats with other passengers on private jets. This is called semi-private flying, and the cost of some flights are reportedly in the same ballpark as first-class airline tickets.
The benefit is that if we can get every aircraft flying with people on it, it's better for the industry and it's better for the environment.
It's an ever-changing industry, and flying private has reached new heights.
Still to come on the list, a beginner's guide to watercolor painting.
It feels so Picasso-like.
And how a viral food review saved a restaurant.
Somebody saw this man on TikTok.
Plus, get a blast from the past with the songs turning 20 this year. All that and more ahead on the list.
Welcome back, friends. All right, Jimmy, when was the last time you took up an art project? Because you know it is great for stress relief.
Well, I'm not the craftiest, but I'm all for stress relief, so count me in.
Yeah, Jackie Danker's here to help with the basics of watercolor, from what you need to some simple techniques that'll get you started.
If you feel like you don't have an artistic bone in your body, you are not alone.
Everyone has a little bit.
Okay, well, my bones are broken.
But professional artist Lambda Myra says she can fix that.
I'm going to teach you kind of the basics of watercolor.
We went to Brightside Studios in Phoenix, Arizona for her to show us how it's done. First things first, we have to collect all the materials we need to paint, starting with
good watercolor paper.
Okay.
It needs to be something a little hefty, a little thicker.
Then you can pick out your watercolors.
I love this color.
Your brushes.
Your standard brushes that you'll start out with are round brushes.
It feels so Picasso-like.
2 glasses of water, a plastic palette, a heat gun, and a toothbrush and a straw to
create like a stippling splattered effect.
Cool!
Now it's time to learn some basic techniques.
Your wet on wet and your wet on dry are what you're going to need to apply just about any kind of texture.
For the wet on wet technique,
you're going to get water on your brush and you're going to create a square.
She says this technique creates beautiful blends of colors, but it's
a lot more difficult to control the water.
Oh, it's running away from me.
Brush your color over the wet area and blast it with a heat gun. Then for a wet on dry approach for a more saturated look.
Don't put any water on the paper. For this technique, put a line of paint down, a nice juicy line. Whoa, see how that dries so much flatter and purty?
Wow, look at yours!
We put our skills to the test by creating highlights and shadows using these techniques.
Ooh. By adding another color on top, since watercolor is a transparent medium, it creates depth with each layer.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
And that's really how you start playing with watercolor.
Finally, we learned some texture techniques.
What are textures? Why are they important?
They just make your painting interesting.
We tried some dry brushing.
Your brush is dry, you're putting paint down. This is good for if you're doing like trees and tree branches.
Oh wow, like happy trees.
Exactly. Oh, very Bob Ross.
Then we practiced splattering.
I like to use it to make chaos.
Yeah.
So you can flick your paintbrush or a toothbrush, or blow paint through a straw.
Give it a good puff.
It's like an explosion.
Creates very expressive movement.
Then we took what we learned and went to town.
Should we do the reveal?
Sure.
Ooh.
I love it.
I love yours.
Making our world a little brighter by learning how to watercolor.
Whether it's through acts big or small, there's lots of ways to show the world we care. These stories feature people who show just that, and they'll remind you that kindness always wins. First up is a TikToker who's out to help struggling small businesses.
This is one of the best wings I've ever had. This is a 10.
Keith Lee is a food critic with over 9 million followers whose reviews are so trusted, they help keep restaurants afloat. Such was the case with the Vegas eatery Frankincense, which 24 hours after a glowing review,
boy, I swear, this is a 9.8 out of 10.
Had lines out the door.
This is crazy. Somebody saw this man on TikTok.
See that? Good food really does bring people together. Amazing. Up next, a Tennessee man on a mission to bring joy to his community, dressed up as one memorable Marvel character.
Wakanda forever!
It's been almost 5 years since the late Chadwick Boseman portrayed Black Panther on the big screen, but he continues to make an impact for his fandom.
Costume.
Justice Smith is a dad of 3 who calls himself the Black Dad Panther. And for the past several years, he's dressed up as the character for special events and even to visit sick children in hospitals.
It doesn't matter what you're going through in that moment. When you are able to come in contact with someone or something that you thoroughly enjoy from the depths of you, it just changes everything. If only for that moment. You forget about everything else.
Very cool. And finally, we head to Colonial Heights, Virginia, where a group of women use art to remind their community of an important yet simple message.
I give them to workers in parking lots. They could be plumbers, electricians, people traveling from different states. I love to stop and say, hey, I've got to be kind for you. They're shocked that a lot of people are very shocked that they're free.
The signs are made out of Crystal Phelps' garage, where the group meets every Friday to handcraft their uplifting messages.
I think other people really get the message and understand that it's not just about a sign, it's about the message of what the sign means.
The project began early in the pandemic, and since then, the small yet mighty group has given away over 13,000 signs.
Sometimes we can take a minute just to remember there's a place for kindness too.
Absolutely agree. Love this. And those are 3 stories that show kindness wins. Lots more to come up on the list. Stay with us. YouTube, we're pretty much smack dab in the middle of the show, and I'm on a secret mission to make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. I can't tell you anything more than that. I've probably said too much already. So quick, back to the show.
We're back, and on today's playlist, it is time to take you back to 2003, a year that gave us tons of songs that we still love to this day. Hattie DeJamal is highlighting a few and celebrating these classics turning 20.
The early 2000s were iconic. They gave us, among other things, the iPod and a newfound obsession for TV shows like The Simple Life.
I've always heard that people hang out at Walmart. Why?
Nicole Richie and Paris Hilton saying That's Hot. The Sidekick, like that's early 2000s for me.
And music was just as memorable. So Jay Donovan, host of Apple Music Hits, takes us to 2003 to celebrate 4 hits released that all turned 20 this year.
If you want a handful of songs to describe what 2003 looked like this is it.
First up is Crazy in Love by Beyonce featuring Jay-Z.
You got me so crazy, baby.
The lead single from her debut solo album, Dangerously in Love, became a #1 hit in the US and earned her 2 Grammys.
We all became crazy in love with her. It was a massive success, a ton of awards, and it was just such a smash.
Let's move on to a hit by Khalees, Milkshake.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours.
It's the singer's highest charting single, and according to her, the word milkshake is meant to represent a woman's confidence.
It's just that thing that you've got, that sort of power that draws people to you. Now, other people say it might actually, just be code word for something else, but I'll leave that up to you to figure out.
Our next classic is by Fountains of Wayne, Stacy's Mom. The Grammy-nominated song is also the band's highest charting hit in the US.
One of the most downloaded songs of all time, and you know why. I hear it today, and we can all still get down in a bar to Stacy's Mom when it comes on rotation. It's just so good.
I know it might be wrong, but I'm in love with Stacy's mom.
We'll wrap it up with Hey Ya by Outkast. The song reached #1 in several countries and is often ranked as one of the greatest songs of the 2000s.
Hey Ya by Outkast is one of my favorite songs of all time. Every single party playlist that I put together is such a crowd pleaser, and I just can't get enough of it.
Early 2000s hits turning 20 in 2023 on the playlist. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, welcome back. It is time for What's Last on our list. Folks over at the New York Times are trying their hands at predicting the future. 13 predictions for life in 2023, and I'm intrigued by some of their guesses.
Yeah, like this one, no more vibes. The Times says the term vibe, it's out, overused, bye-bye in 2023. And just yesterday, KG, I asked you what is a vibe, and before I can even figure it out, it's gone.
It's already out. Jimmy, you're a vibe.
I don't know what that means.
Also, they predict a new pet trend, the pet rat. New York State banned the sale of dogs, cats, and rabbits at pet stores, right? But rats, which are plentiful in New York, are apparently still available for sale.
Okay, KG, what are you going to say when your son Mateo comes to you and asks for a pet rat?
Yeah, that's going to be a hard pass.
Well, here's a hard pass for me. A crusade against caffeine. They predict wellness influencers are going to try to convince you to ditch the caffeine. Who are these monsters?
I mean, Jimmy, do you want to tell people all about the benefits of coffee? I will give you 5 seconds.
Yes, actually, it helps prevent...
Time's up. Okay, my kid's going to love this next one. The end of shoelaces. I mean, who needs to learn to tie their own shoes when these Birkenstock, clogs, Crocs, and ballet flats are in?
Okay, so my socks with sandals are cool and trendy and get in 2023. Got it.
Sure, Jimmy. You grab yourself a pet rat and rock those socks and sandals, and you just be your own vibe.
Giddy up.
That's what's last on our list. YouTube, thank you so much for watching. And you know what? I think the New York Times may have missed some trends. So, in no particular order, expressing your preferences will be a huge trend. So, why not like this video? It's the little thumbs up down there. This next trend is huge, making sure your ideas are heard. So, if you have an idea or some feedback for the show, leave us a comment. Finally, getting more of what you like is going to be huge this year. So go on and hit subscribe so you'll always know when you can get more great list content. Speaking of list content, here are some more shows hand-selected just for you. Enjoy.